The Spanish-American War began and ended in 1898. This was the first Great War that American nurses participated in, since just shortly before this war is when the first nursing schools were founded in 1873. Supply and demand. Supply and demand will be a big topic and phrase used when talking about nurses throughout the history of the United States and their need. There have been a lot of shortages, and often their demand is much greater than what can be supplied to the military or to our culture and our country in general. Wartime nurses. So the nursing contingent in the Spanish-American War was very small in relation to the need. At the beginning of that war, the U.S. military had no professional nurses, having instead approximately 700 hospital corps men and stewards, give or take, with a varying amount of training provided to them. Overall, this was an extremely small number for an army of 25,000. By the end of the war, the army had approximately 1,500 contract nurses. 232 were nuns, who virtually had no professional training whatsoever. For an army of 75,000 that had an enormous disease burden in addition to battle casualties, this wasn't a lot, but this definitely benefited the American military at the time. The nurses served in training camps, on transport ships, and in evacuation hospitals and stateside hospitals. In addition to caring for the wounded, nurses handled thousands of disease cases, mostly typhoid and yellow fever. The lack of nursing staff and the deplorable conditions became a public scandal and led to congressional hearings and urgent calls for change. Just a statistic about the Spanish-American War is overall 84% of the casualties were from disease, and 34 out of 1,000 deaths were from disease. So the need for nurses at the time was huge. The demand for them was huge. The public demanded it. The people back home who were saying how sick and poor equipped the military was demanded nurses. The success of nurses and their contribution to the Spanish-American War led to the creation of the Army Nurse Corps in 1901 and the creation of the Navy Nurse Corps in 1908.